Occupation and wages. What is wages? Wages is a fixed regular payment, typically paid on a daily or weekly basis, made by an employer to an employee, especially to a manual or unskilled worker. Occupations that pay relatively low wages offer interesting careers and generous holiday entitlements. There are many factors of known wages. First, hours of work. Second, holiday entitlements. Third, promotion prospect. Fourth, flexible working arrangement. Fifth, qualification required. Sixth, quality of working environment. Seventh, how secure the job is. Eighth, how satisfying the work is. Ninth, fringe benefits. 10, training opportunities. 11, pension entitlements. 12, opportunities for promotion. 13, interesting and varied tasks. 14, distance or time it takes to travel to and from work. What is net advantages? Net advantages is all the wages and non-wages factors that affect the attractiveness of a particular job or occupation. What is wage differentials? Wage differentials is the difference in wages between different occupation and employees in the same occupation. The reasons for occupational wage differentials is first, different abilities and qualifications. This is because not all workers have the same educations, training, and ability. For example, an accountant is a more skilled worker than a cashier. If both workers were paid the same amount, very few people would be willing to undertake the many years of study necessary to become an accountant. Second, dirty jobs and unsociable hours. Some jobs are dirty or dangerous, and so workers must be paid more in order to attract a supply of labor. Some people have to work nights or other unsociable hours and may be paid more to compensate for this. These are called compensating differentials. Third, job satisfaction. The satisfaction provided by undertaking a job can compensate for relatively low wages for some people. Some occupations, such as nursing, are considered worthier than others by some people, and this makes this occupation more attractive. Market wage rates will be relatively low in those occupations that attracts a large supply of labor. Fourth, lack of information about jobs and wages. Sometimes people will work for less than they could earn in other roles simply because they do not know about the availability of better paid jobs elsewhere. Lack of information about job availability can restrict the supply of labor to those jobs and can therefore help explain some differences in earnings between different jobs in different areas. Fifth, labor immobility. The ease with which workers can move between different occupations and different areas of a country is known as labor mobility. If workers are very mobile, they can move easily to those jobs that offer them the most pay, and they will also move from places with high unemployment to areas with more job vacancies. High labor mobility or willingness to move can help to increase the supply of labor to different occupations in different areas and reduce regional differences in unemployment and wage rate in a country. 6. Fringe benefits. Some jobs may offer lower wages than others because they offer more perks instead, such as company cars, free life insurance, or cheap travel. However, it is usually the higher paid jobs that also tend to offer the most perks in order to attract the most skilled workers. The reasons for the different earning between people doing the same jobs is first, regional differences in labor demand and supply conditions. For example, there may be shortage of workers with particular types of skills in some parts of the country. Firms in such areas needing these workers may offer higher wages to attract workers from rival firms or from elsewhere in the country. Second, length of services. Many firms have pay scale that overpay increases linked to the number of years a worker stays with the firm. This extra pay is both a bonus for loyalty and also a payment for having more experience and skill. Firms reward their more experienced and productive workers with higher pay because they want to keep them. Third, local pay agreements. Some national trade unions may agree a national wage rate for all their members through collective bargaining with employers. All workers belonging to the union with similar work experience and levels of skills will therefore receive the same wage wherever they work in a country. However, many workers and employers can often agree their pay locally, so regional differences in pay in the same occupation can occur. Fourth, non-monetary rewards differ. Some firms may offer their workers more fringe and other benefits than rival firms such as longer holiday, free medical care, and enhanced pension contributions instead of higher rates of pay. In some countries, non-pay rewards are not taxable, so they may offer a worker better value than paying higher wages from which income and other payroll taxes will be deducted. Fifth, discrimination. Workers doing the same job may be treated differently by different employers simply because of their sex, age, race, or religion. The reasons for wage differentials is first younger and older workers. This is because the earning of individuals will tend to increase over time as they become more experienced and skilled in their jobs, and therefore more productive and valuable to their employers. Second, male and female workers. Females may earn less than male doing the same or similar jobs due to discriminations. For example, some employers may favor male employees over female employees in job interviews and for promotions to more senior level. Third, skilled and unskilled workers. The supply of skilled workers such as surgeons, engineers, and computer software developers is limited compared to the supplies of unskilled labor. This is because specialist skills and knowledge take time to develop, and not everyone has the time or ability to develop them. Fourth, public sector and private sector workers. Governments are major employers in many countries. The public sector therefore competes with private sector firms to attract many of the same types of workers with the same skills, and so government needs to be aware of what private sector firms are paying their workers. Fifth, industrial wage differentials. Differences in wage rates between industry will reflect differences in the labor market demand and supply conditions for those industry and also local or regional labor market conditions in areas where firms in those industries are concentrated. For example, wages will tend to be lower in areas where there is high unemployment and therefore a large supply of labor seeking work. Industries that require a lot of unskilled or low-skilled labor tend to pay lower wages than industries that require skilled labor. This explains why the average earnings of agricultural workers and workers in many service industries such as catering, retailing, and cleaning are usually lower than skilled engineers and other manufacturing workers. The reasons for the differences in the average earnings of male and female workers is first, differences in the occupational choices of men and women. More females tend to work in occupations such as teaching, nursing, and retailing compared to males. Market wage rates for these occupations are often below those of many other occupations. Second, many females will often take career breaks to raise children, and as a result, they gain less work experience and career progressions than males. Third, more females tend to work part-time compared to males, again, often due to family commitments. The gender pay gap between male and female workers has been declining over time in many economies. The reasons include first, more females are entering the workforce and taking jobs in occupations once dominated by males. Second, an increase in the number of females choosing to stay on in higher education and study for academic qualifications including university degrees. Third, falling birth rate because females are choosing to have fewer children and take fewer career breaks. Fourth, a reduction in the number of males in full-time employment. Fifth, the introductions of equal pay laws to prevent pay discrimination by employers. Occupational specializations of labor. The benefits of occupational specializations is first, specializations allows individuals to make the best use of their skills and abilities. Second, skilled employees will often earn more than unskilled employees because their supplies is limited. They tend to be more productive and there is greater demand for skilled labor. The disadvantage of occupational specializations is that the occupational mobility resulting from over-specializations can therefore cause the following problems. First, higher wages as there is less competition between workers for jobs. Second, higher levels and longer period of unemployment. Third, higher levels of government spending on unemployment benefits or welfare payment.
Spending by William. What is spending? Consumer spendings is the total money spent on the final goods and services by individuals and households for personal use and enjoyment in an economy. Consumer spending can be regarded as complementary to personal saving, spending, and production in an economy. Disposable income. The income a person is left after income-related taxes and charges have been deducted is called disposable income. When a person has more disposable income, there is a greater potential of consumer expenditure on goods and services, and the more they will also be able to save. How much people can spend on their disposable income depends on their prices. Therefore, the amount an individual can choose to spend on goods and services depends on their real disposable income. Consumption. Consumption is using goods and services to satisfy our needs and wants. How people choose to spend their disposable income on consuming those goods and services that provide them with the most satisfaction is called utility. Utility is when a person given a disposable income and faced with a set of prices and places to buy different goods and services. They will consume those goods and services that maximizes his or her total utility. Factors that affect consumer expenditure. 1. Wealth. The wealthier the person is, the greater their spending on goods and services. 2. Consumer confidence. The more confident people are about their jobs and future incomes, the more they will spend and even might borrow money to buy houses, cars, and even more expensive items. 3. Interest rate. When the interest rate is low, people tend to spend their money instead of saving. Consumer spending patterns. Consumer spending patterns change with income, age, and gender. In general, young people spend more and cannot save because of the low income resulting in them living by monthly paycheck. Middle-aged people with children have relatively high income and they can spend more on children's needs and education. They also have a part of their income for future college funds and pension funds. Retired couples don't have a salary which lead to the saving their life from what they saved in their pension fund. Instead of saving, they dissave.
Savings and Borrowings by Nicholas. What is savings? Well, the definition of savings involves people delaying consumption until some later time when they will withdraw and spend their savings plus any interest in the bank. Why do people save? Well, first is they're saving for future consumption, a bigger purchase, so they save now and spend it later on a car, house, college funds, or even pension. Second, interest rate. When the interest rate is up, people will save more because it gives more money to them in the bank if they save. Third, consumer confidence. When the consumer is not confident on the future, like during these times in Corona, people may lose their jobs or get a pay decrease, they will save. Or even high inflation. When the inflation is high, the market economic for money isn't safe, so they save to play it safe. Fourth, availability of saving schemes. When there's a variety of saving schemes with higher rate of interest, for example, tax-free programs and special promotions like save and get a free phone or a lucky draw out of car, this will increase savings. Disposable incomes. The income of a person that has been left after income-related taxes and charge have been deducted is called disposable incomes. The more the disposable income a person has, the greater the potential of consumer expenditure or spending goods and services, and they will be able to save more. Well, How much people can spend on their disposable income depends on their prices. Therefore, the amount an individual can choose to spend on goods and services depends on their real disposable income. Terminology of saving. Saving ratio. This measures the proportions of the total disposable income saved in an economy. Saving pattern. The pattern of saving depends on the age, income, and marital status of people. This saving. Withdraw or spend savings that people have accumulated to help pay living expenses. For example, older people and pension funds. Let's look at the graph on the right. When you start working, you'll get income. You start saving and you accumulate wealth. And when you hit retirement, you'll consume your savings, which is called saving. Problems of saving. When everybody saves, spending will decrease and consumption will go down. For example, now people don't go to restaurants because of COVID or malls to shop, so the country's economy is going down. Many shops are closed and businesses go bankrupt. Eventually, this will lead to a recession. Borrowing. Why do people borrow money? First, to pay off debts or loans, like mortgages, which is property loans. Property loans are loans used when you don't have enough money to buy a house, and student loans. 2. Start a new business using business loans. When you start up a new business, you need to set up the new equipment, hire new employees, and market the business. Third, buying new assets like cars, land, and stock in companies. Fourth, is to finance education or training, like college loans and training loans. All of this is personal debt, which is the total borrowing by a person or household. Factors affecting borrowing. Number 1, interest rates. When loan interest rates are low, people will borrow more because it's more affordable to get loans. Second, wealth. The more wealth a person owns, the more he can borrow. For example, if two people show up to a bank and one owns 5 houses and one rents an apartment, which will the bank loan money to? Well, the bank might loan money to the one who rents, but he will obviously lend a lot of money to the one with 5 houses, as the credit record is good. Third, consumer confidence. When a consumer has a higher confidence, he will tend to borrow more. For example, someone that has a steady job and will get promoted soon will tend to borrow more money to buy higher priced items like a house or cars. Fourth, ways of borrowing and the availability of credit. The easier it is for people to get credit, for example, nowadays like credit cards, online loans, and overdrafts, the more chances for people to get more loans. The problem with borrowing. When people borrow a lot from banks or even credit cards, but due to a negative situation, for example, COVID, their business sales decrease or their salary gets cut, so their income is less and they cannot pay back their loans. This results in bankruptcy or in legal terms insolvent, which is unable to pay back loans. Sample questions and answers derived from our past papers pertaining to the topic. As you can see, the table shows how household spending changes with income. What is the first level of income shown at which savings are positive? So you see, you can only save when your income is higher than spending. The first time we see it is at 5,200 when it's bigger than the spending, which is 4,975. So 5,200 and 4,975 is the answer. Moving on. In which occupations do wage tend to be the lowest? Well, let's look at the options. Well, we know that those work that is dangerous often have quite high pay. And we know where employees need long training will often have high skills, so they'll be highly recruited for bigger pay. So it just leaves the excess supply of labor and workers pay on a monthly basis. Since workers on pay on a monthly basis normally has higher payment, well, that leads to excess supply of labor as the answer. Why? Well, when there are many people wanting to do the job, the pay tend to be the lowest. Next, the saving ratio in Japan fell from 23% in 1975 to 14% in 1990 to 4% in 2004. Two reasons given for this Japanese economies were a fall in inflation and a rise in number of retired people in relation to the number of workers. Now, explain why the savings ratio may fall due to the rise of the number of retired people in relation to the number of actively working people. The saving ratio might fall because of the increase in retired people who have no income, so the amount of income that they save will fall down. In fact, they will use their savings to cover their daily expenses, which is called the saving, which we learned earlier. Comparing to active workers who usually save more, this number decreases compared to the retired people. That's why the country's saving ratio decreases in Japan. In England, football stadiums are usually built and financed by the private sector, but in some countries, the stadiums are built and financed by the government. Many football stadiums in the English Premier League are full on match days. In the short run, the supply of seats is perfectly inelastic. The football clubs could actually raise prices, still sell their tickets, and so raise their profits. Premier League footballers currently receive very high wages. Now, let's analyze why Premier League football players receive high wages. Premier League football players receive high wages because they are high in demand for specialized skills as professional football players. Since being a football player takes skills and training, it gives them higher bargaining power because of their specialization. Since the job is skillful, it comes with the risk of personal injury. This is a reason of their very high wages. As many people like to watch football matches in stadiums, which gives the players fame and the football club high revenue in ticket sales, football clubs also receive high incomes because of their players compete in World Cups, which brings them fame and trophies. Thank you for listening to our presentation, submitted by Nicholas, Alice, and William to Mr. Allen.